Hey guys, it's Steve here again, and welcome back to my channel, Enviado Global, and Happy New Year. It's now 2025. We're a few days into it. And on this video, I'm going to pose my very first question to you for the year, and that is about Christians in Syria. Are they free to practice their faith in Syria today under the rule of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS for short, and forgive me if I mispronounced it, because I probably did, but HTS for short. Are they free? Are they going to experience true religious freedom in 2025 and moving forward under their rule? Honestly, I am not confident that they will. And I'm going to explain why. But before I do, please put your thoughts in the comment sections. Please let me know what you think about that. But not even just the Christians. What about the other people, the other minority groups like the Druze and the Alawites and all these other people that live in Syria? Because it may be a Muslim majority country, but it is not a Muslim exclusive country. And so there's a lot of talk about this on the internet. There's a lot of opinions about it on the internet and on the media, but I'm going to address it here on my channel. Now, to answer my question about the Christians in Syria, we have to talk about HTS, okay? Because that helps us answer the question with some logic and some historical evidence behind it, okay? Not just based on emotion, not just based on what the rhetoric is today, what people are saying in the last few weeks, but what has happened in the past, in recent past and in long past, that could probably influence what's going to happen tomorrow and into the future. So HTS is still a classified terrorist organization by the United States, Canada, UK, EU, United Nations, even Turkey, and a number of other countries. And the reason is of their past affiliation with Al-Qaeda. Now, they have, according to them, severed that ties with Al-Qaeda, at least officially. And they've been accused of being soft Muslims by some of those groups because they're not considered as hardlined as Muslim groups like Taliban or Al-Qaeda and obviously ISIS. And one reason is because they've allowed women to be educated. Whereas in Afghanistan, the Taliban actually restricts that. And so they are considered less hardlined as these other groups. And they've also allowed Christians to worship. They've said in the last couple of weeks, they've allowed Christians to worship, which they did during Christmas for the most part. Now, there were some circumstances where Christians were, I would say, attacked. Now, it's hard to know who attacked them specifically, but there were some celebrations intentionally disrupted, some Christmas celebrations that were disrupted in Syria. However, the leader of HTS, the founder of HTS, has said that Christians will be protected. At the same time, HTS believes in Sharia law, an Islamic-based legal system. This is where it falls apart for me. Okay, I don't care what people are saying in the last couple of weeks, what the new leadership of Syria is saying recently since Assad fell. Now, in one case, Assad needed to fall, but now we've got another problem going forward because Sharia law and living a full life as a Christian is completely incompatible. And here's why I say that. Under the current system, or under Sharia law in Syria, they are claiming that Christians and other religious groups can practice their faith. Now, here's the problem. Here's one of the problems I've seen or have read about in the last week is that they would say that they craft their words very carefully, which any politician would, and I don't blame them for doing that, is that they say Christians can practice their faith freely amongst themselves. Okay, they can go to churches, they can have their celebrations, they can do everything basically within a Christian bubble. And that's a problem because to live an authentic, a legitimate Christian life, you cannot live in a Christian bubble. Because all you have to do is open up the Bible and see that God calls Christians to step out of their Christian bubble, so to speak, and engage and live among non-believers, to share their faith with non-believers, to be salt and light where people are not Christians, to be able to practice their faith on one hand, sure, there's going to be religious freedom in the sense if they only want to go to church, great, they can do it. If they only want to talk about their faith amongst their family, great, they can do it. If they only want to talk with other Christians about Christ, about the Bible, about even studying the Bible, then it's going to be allowed. Everything I see and read, that actually makes sense. Just keep it to yourself, is basically what they're saying. Don't take it beyond yourselves. And I know there's a lot of people who think, well, no one has a right to tell them what they think, or no one has a right to share their faith with other people. Well, I would argue that everyone has a right to share their faith. A Buddhist has a right, and a Muslim has a right, a Hindu has a right. Everyone has a right to share their faith, and everyone has a brain to make a decision. Syrian Christians, well, let's just back up. To be a Christian, to live an authentic, legitimate Christian life requires that you go beyond your Christian circles and engage with non-Christians, okay? We call that the Great Commissions, sharing the good news of Christ, sharing the gospel, letting people know that Jesus is the way. That's what we believe, and that's what we want them to know. We want them to hear that message. We're not forcing them to believe it. If they want to reject it, that's fine. I've had plenty of people reject it that I've talked to. And so to live a real Christian life, you have to be able to go out and do that. You have to basically step out of a Christian bubble. And the reason I say Christian bubble is in the last week or two, what I've read coming out of Syria is that the interim government of Syria is okay with Christians practicing their faith as long as they stay within that bubble, meaning practice your faith with your family, practice your faith with other established Christians. Sure, go to church, but just with Christians. Have Christmas celebrations. We'll see what happens at Easter, but that's around the corner and it's not here yet, so time will tell what's going to happen then. But practice only with other Christians. The words were well crafted when I read them. And I can't remember what article I was reading, but it was an interview with the leader of HTS, and he was very careful how he said it. The problem with that, again, goes back to a real, authentic Christian life cannot be lived like that. And that's why it becomes incompatible with Sharia law and becomes a problem for Christians. Because when Christians start stepping out of the bubble and they start living that authentic life, that authentic Christian life in Syria, in this case, since that's what we're talking about, then problems are going to erupt. It's just a matter of time. It's reality. Why am I bringing this up? I can't move the needle with HTS. I can't move the needle with the interim government in Syria and tell them to actually have true religious freedom. I can't. I know that. And you probably can't either. But we still need to be aware of what's going on in this world. We still need to be aware of what's happening with other Christians in this world, since that's my audience, are other Christians. And we need to be praying for them. We need to be encouraging them. Most of us, that's all we can do. And if that's all you can do, then do it with passion. And I say that because Syrian Christians are still concerned. They're still worried. There's some that are living in anxiety because, yes, while some were able to celebrate Christmas, and there were some attacks on Christians in Syria, not many, but I would say the majority got to celebrate. But again, it's been less than a month since Assad fell, and the rhetoric is we're going to let Christians or practice their faith freely, and so they've got to at least let them do it. But whether that happens continually in the future is to be seen. Because when you factor in all the things I've already said, which who HTS was, who HTS is, how they're going to govern in their legal system, and the compatibility with an authentic Christian life, the future doesn't look great for true religious freedom in Syria. So even though these Syrian Christians may be thousands of miles away from most of you, you may not have the same opportunities I have to actually know them and meet with them. But even though they may be far away, just remember this. We're all, as authentic Christians, we are all part of the same family, part of the same body of Christ that has been bought by the blood of Christ. And so keep remembering them, and I encourage you to keep praying for them. We do not have, and I cannot predict with 100% accuracy that this is going to be the reality for these Christians in terms of the trouble that might be around the corner for them. But it's simply based on evidence that I've seen, evidence I've read, and conversations I've had with them. okay? We cannot predict it with accuracy, nor should we just accept what is being propagated out of Syria, that they're going to have absolute freedom to practice their faith, okay? We don't need to accept that either. Of course, time will tell what actually happens. And maybe even the next few months, we may have a better idea when a more permanent government is in place. But again, with Sharia law, I just don't have that confidence that that's what's going to happen in terms of the religious freedom. And so again, let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you next time.